dining room. I'm like, okay, daddy, what was the cutoff? Did I make it? And he turns around and looks at me and says, how could you have possibly made it when you're such a non-entity, when you don't have brain in your head? Said, and there was another man there who came to check for his daughter's cutoff mark, and she was 1 point above the cutoff mark. And then when the man asked if I came to check for my child, I didn't have the confidence to even say I wanted to check for my child, because how will I be able to say that I'm the father of someone that? And my mom now joins. I say, how will you be able to talk now when your son is a blockhead? He doesn't know anything. Soludo. They tell themselves that I am not good enough because of the pain and the damage that they have experienced in their soul, in their mind. I felt betrayed. And I felt like, okay, in that kind of scenario, if you couldn't speak for me, and then these guys were speaking against me, and they couldn't speak for me, it hurt.
A lot of people, when they are rejected, they tend to revenge. I know it sounds a bit tricky, but yes, it happens. So what I don't know if you've seen that play out. Because this person was rejected, the person came back with so much anger and revenge and resentment. So how can you help that person?
For everyone who has caused you pain, you need to understand that the reason they caused you pain was that they themselves were in pain. For everyone who has rejected you, you need to understand that they rejected you because they themselves were rejected.
Hello, welcome back to another exciting episode of Life with Cynthia podcast. This is Cynthia. Today we're going to be talking about dealing with rejection. Yes. So this topic is very relatable because a lot of us sometime or maybe in the past and up till now are still dealing with rejection. In short, me, my own is not far. As at last year, one TV station like that rejected my monologue, and I had to go and deal with it in so much pain. And okay, so back to it. Yeah. So this topic is very important because people don't know how to deal with rejection. People tend to put a very strong front when they are rejected, and we have yet again a very remarkable guest filled with so much wisdom and insight for this particular topic. And I'm delighted and glad that Mr. Oke has decided that he's going to come back for a second round. And should be told, he said he will come back for many more rounds, but let's not loud it yet. Thank you so much for being on this set again. Thank you, sir. It's good to have you again.
It's good to be here once again, Cynthia. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon to everyone. The last episode we did was fire. The amount of DMs that I got, and I'm so happy that God spoke his mind through you, because that was the kind of messages I got. I had a lot of people saying, oh, we'll play this in our church. A lot of our church, yes, a lot of our church members need to hear this. And it was on offense and manipulation,
yes.
as regarding the body of Christ. Yes, and everything going on in the body of Christ. So it was a very beautiful topic. Thank you again. And so let's go down to dealing with rejection. Our first question for today would be, have you personally experienced rejection, and how did it shape your journey?
Okay, I don't know if I should start with what rejection is to start with.
Okay, that's good.
Rejection is a wound that affects the soul. It's not a physical wound. It's not something that you can see, but it's damage that affects the soul that is caused by the lack or the perceived lack of unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. So every child is born with that need to be loved and accepted, whether they deserve it or not. Every one of us is born with that need. It's the reason why a child will misbehave and the mother spanks that child, and yet that child will run back to mommy, arms open wide. Mommy carry me, daddy carry me, even though they know they just misbehaved. Because what they are asking at the unconscious level is, despite the fact that I messed up, do you still love me? Despite the fact that I went wrong, do you still accept me? Am I important enough to you that you will bypass or look beyond the mistake I have made and still hold me and make me feel accepted and loved? The the absence of that feeling, the absence of that need, that unconditional love, the perception of the absence of that love and unconditional acceptance is what leads to rejection. And it's a wound that affects the soul. Now, what makes rejection very bad or very, very damaging is the fact that it's not something that is easily diagnosable.
Wow.
It's not something that you would just look in someone's face and see
Yeah, the person
that
is
this
dealing
person
with.
is dealing with this. Because you have people who dress very well, look hot, coming out looking like they are all put together and everything, but they are dealing with damage that is affecting their soul. They're dealing with damage that's been with them, some of them from childhood, some of them from even deep in the womb, some of them stuff that's happened to them as they have grown and matured, and it has affected the way they relate with the world, and it has limited their ability to be all that they can be. That is what rejection is in a nutshell. And if it has happened to me, yes, it has. As a matter of fact, there is no human being who has not had to deal with rejection at one point or the other. So yes, I have had to deal with rejection personally, and it shaped my life in both positive, negative ways first, but then eventually it led to some positivity. Now, I'll give one analogy. This happened when I was, I think, about 10 years old. Yeah. I am from Delta State. Yeah. So uh, when I wrote common entrance, I was supposed to go into a federal secondary
Secondary
school.
school.
So after you write G12, you write Lagos State, you now write federal and everything. I was supposed to go to Janiki and everything. And then the cutoff mark came out, and I think in my school I was among the top five, and I scored very, very well, even for all of Lagos State. I grew up here in Lagos, so my scores were very, very high. But on that year, I think it was the first time that the government introduced this whole thing about catchment areas, depending on your state.
Yeah.
So what that meant was that depending on your state, you would have either a very high cutoff way above the general cutoff mark, or have very, very low cutoff way below the general cutoff mark, depending on your state. Now, because I am from Delta State, the cutoff mark for Delta State was much higher
And
than
that of
that
Lagos.
of the general, not just Lagos, general cutoff mark. It's not a
Okay.
Lagos thing. Depending on there's the general cutoff mark that this is the benchmark. But depending on your state, you would be required to score much higher before you be given admission into a federal secondary school. So everyone, because we're here in Lagos, my dad had to go to the Delta State liaison office to get the Delta State cutoff mark. So on this, he went there that day. I remember it was a Friday, and he didn't come back home until I had already gone to bed. So by Saturday morning, I was having breakfast when I remembered that Daddy went to check cutoff mark yesterday, and I've not gotten the feedback yet. What is it? And I dashed down to the living room because I was eating in the bedroom with my siblings, and I dashed to the living room, to the dining table. He was sitting out with Mom. See, they were both at the dining table. They were eating there, and which is something I'm just going to bring up here about emotions and everything, because rejection to a large extent has to do with emotions. Our minds cannot hold on to hold on to actions for very long. After a while, you forget the details. But if a strong emotion is tied to an action, you will remember it forever. It's one of the reasons why we need to be very careful how we relate with others, so that the strong emotions attached to the actions that has to do with our meeting with them or relating with them are not negative, because those strong emotions will make them remember those things forever. Now, this is why I'm saying this. This happened when I was 10 years old. Right now, I'm way into my 40s and my mid 40s. Yet, I can still remember vividly the kind of spoon I was eating with. I can describe to you the breakfast we were having that morning, pap and beans. I can describe to you how my parents were sitting, the color of the chairs they were sitting on, the color of the dining table. I can describe all of that to you, because I have never forgotten in almost 40 years how the things that happened that morning, because of how they affected me. Now I dashed off to the dining room. I was like, okay, daddy, what was the cutoff? Did I make it? And he turns around and looks at me and says, how could you have possibly made it when you're such a non-entity, when you don't have brain in your head? Now, bear in mind, I was top five in my school. In all of Lagos State, I think I was top amongst the top 15 Lagos State primary schools put together. But the federal government just puts cutoff mark depending on your state. So because the federal government did that, and my own point was 2 points below the Delta State cutoff mark, I had become a non-entity and a brainless person. And he said he didn't stop there. He now said, and there was another man there who came to check for his daughter's cutoff mark, and she was 1 point above the cutoff mark. And then when the man asked if I came to check for my child, I didn't have the confidence to even say I wanted to check for my child. Because how will I be able to say that I'm the father of someone that, and my mom now joins and say, how will you be able to talk now when your son is a blockhead, he doesn't know anything. Zuludu.
Wow.
And tears were streaming down my face. Now, thinking back on it now, this was not my fault. I did very well in that exam. I did very, very well. But the issue right now was that the government decided that because I am from Delta State, they set a different cutoff mark from the cutoff mark that I should have did. That I think I was like 20 marks above, 20 or 30 marks above the regular cutoff mark. But because I was from Delta State, there was like almost 30, 40 marks added to the cutoff mark. And I stood there, tears streaming down my face, and I have never forgotten that. And the negativity about it was that from that moment on, that was primary school, entering into secondary school. From that moment on, I never read again. Why should I read? Amulodu, what's the point? What's the point? After all, I don't have brain. I'm a non-entity. Why should I study?
So you were no longer top of your class during secondary school?
In secondary school, I was amongst the top 20. I never went below 18th. But the only reason why that happened was that if I'm in the class and they taught that thing, I'll never forget it. But for me to go back and read my books, read my notes, it never happened.
Wow.
So I think I was just blessed and lucky that I was intelligent enough to be able to grasp things easily when they were taught in class. If I had been the kind of person that needed to go back and read it again and again and again, I would have failed throughout secondary school.
Wow. So you're almost getting to the next question, which is, how does rejection affect your self-esteem?
Rejection is damaging to self-esteem. It produces people who have you ever met people who all they do in every relationship that they ever get into, in any relation with anybody, is try to please everybody.
People pleaser.
Some people become people pleasers because they tell themselves that I am not good enough because of the pain and the damage that they have experienced in their soul, in their mind. They begin to tell themselves that I am not good enough to be loved. I am not good enough to be accepted. So they begin to now do everything that everyone around them expects of them in the hope that they will love me if I just say yes to them. They will accept me if I just say yes to them. So they are the kind of ones that will go the extra mile for their friends, and they end up being used by other people. People who realize that this person is weak emotionally, this person is weak mentally, this person has a weak will. They end up being used by such people who will take advantage of that weakness in their soul, because they are doing all of those things just so they can gain that sense of acceptance and sense of belonging amongst their peers. And they will do anything just so they can be accepted, because they've convinced themselves, I'm not good enough. Why was I not good enough? If daddy rejected me, if mommy rejected me, then I'm not good enough. There's nothing good in me to be loved. So maybe if I do this for them, maybe, just maybe, they will begin to accept me.
Okay. So let me just divert a bit. I'm a Christian girl, so I always divert to the Christian way. So rejection in the body of Christ is not part of our discussion. I just wanted to ask a question and paint a scenario. Yeah, so I'm in this body of Christ. I'm a chorister, and maybe the voice did not really gel very, very well, but I mean, I'm giving it my all. I'm coming for rehearsal. It's obvious I'm doing my best, but for every time there is a call to lead, take solos, or I'm not being called upon. Even when I probably say, oh no, I can try this, I'll be told, oh no, you can't. Okay, don't worry, just back up. Oh no, I'm sorry, you can't. It happens a lot in, let's give the instance of choir. It has made a lot of people leave choir, leave service to God. And because the service to God they understand is music, they've left the music ministry. And most of them has also left church because they were rejected. So I would like to know, Do you think truly rejection affects your Christian faith? And if it does and you've been rejected, how would you tell someone who has been rejected in the body of Christ? How would you advise that they deal with it?
Okay, this question you asked is kind of broad. It's vast.
Just help
Let,
me
let me
bring
let
it
me
together.
let me explain that. First of all, the bringing it down to our walk with God, the core cause of rejection is sin. The reason why everybody is born with that need to be accepted is because everybody is born with an empty space inside of them that
Needs
lets
to be.
them realize that there's something that is missing there. And it is that need to have that space, that empty vacuum filled, that drives us to want to be loved and accepted. And we are born with that space, that vacuum, because of original sin. Now, when God made man, God made man in union with himself, and God always fellowshiped with man. And God filled that void in
That
man.
space, yeah.
But when man sinned and left God, and God sent him out of the garden and all of that, it created a slash, it created a cut. That there was a disconnect. That disconnect is the reason why we have that void. So when you were born again Christian, once you get born again, you're supposed to begin to, in place of fellowship with God, get healing for your heart and all of that. That begins to help that thing heal. But using the scenario that you just created, one of the things that causes that is a failure in leadership. Because if the person who is in leadership there understands this person is giving their whole heart to this, they might not be very skilled. The question is, how do I help this person? So because yes, I've seen scenarios where people left church, left that department, left places where they could have loved to serve because they felt that they were not being given a voice. They're not being given attention, and no one wants to be made to feel like they're useless. So yes, that does happen. But what I would say is this: if you find yourself in that scenario, look for a place where your service will be appreciated. The thing is, I want to serve God. Where I want to serve is not limited to just one. If I am not being accepted to serve here, there are lots of other places where I can also serve. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, when our church in HQ, in Dominion City, Lagos HQ, when it started, I was to begin to work with the senior pastor there, like as his PA, to help him to manage the facility, to make sure that everything. But then someone now came into the picture and he now made it look like we were competing for that. So it now looked like we were dragging that position and everything. And I said to myself, this is not the only place to serve God. So even if he now look, even though this is not what happened, even if it had begun to happen that he was preferred in that place, I would have just said to myself, this is not the only place to serve. So where can I serve? And where is a place that there is a need and nobody is serving right now? Let me go there and serve. Let me go there and serve, and nobody's going to try to oust me or tell me that I'm not good enough to serve there, because there is a need there and nobody's doing it. So, but then we also need to now understand the place of leadership, good leadership that sees that this person wants to serve, then help them. Many years ago, I used to be a music director in charge of a choir. So when I met people like that, I would give them assignments in music. Go and listen to the song, learn it. Rehearsal is by 4 p.m. Meet me by 2 p.m. Let's do personal rehearsal one on one. And I'll work on them to help mature them and get so their skill gets better to a point where they can eventually begin to lead. Because the person might have a heart and a passion and everything, but if they do not have the skill, the truth is this: music is very technical. So even though someone might feel bad that they are not being called, if you do not have the skill, then you will not be called. So, but what I did to help the person's self-esteem is to now, okay, now I'm going to have personal time with you to help you polish your gift into a skill so that eventually you can be called. And what began to happen was that some of the people that I trained and I raised in that scenario left there from people that were told that, my friend, you should not be in the choir, go and join ushering department. By the time I was done with them, they were now sent to other places to go and become music directors of other new branches that were being planted, because I took time to work on them. And I told them, don't let anybody tell you that you are not called to be here. If your heart is here, all you need is a little polishing. Do you get? But then that's a leadership skill. And in places where that is going on, it just shows us that the person who's leading or the people leading there do not understand what it means to value people and then pay attention, because it's very important. People are the resources that God has given us.
Yes.
Let's be very careful how we deal with them, how we relate with them, especially in the body of Christ. Because one day, God will ask you, I made you leader over this person. How far? Then you now explain how you give the person rejection. I don't want to be part of that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you
Quick
very much.
one. How does rejection? So a lot of people, when they are rejected, they tend to revenge. I know it sounds a bit tricky, but yes, it happens. So what I don't know if you've seen that play out, because this person was rejected. The person came back with so much anger and revenge and resentment. So how can you help that person?
Okay, first of all, let me say this here. For everyone who has caused you pain, you need to understand that the reason they caused you pain was that they themselves were in pain. For everyone who has rejected you, you need to understand that they rejected you because they themselves were rejected. So the only thing that they had to give was pain. So that's what they gave out to you. The only thing that they had to give was anger, and that's what they got. That's what you got from them. So when you understand that, it's easier to forgive what they did, because you begin to understand that this person was also in pain. Now, looking at the first story I told about my folks and all, it was years later I began to understand that for my parents, they did the best that they could, but as mean as I felt they were in those scenarios where they were mean, at the times when I felt like they were mean and everything, they gave us pain as the kids because that was all that they had to give. They had passed through pain themselves, they had passed through rejection themselves, because it is hurting people who hurt others. It is people who have been hurt that eventually bring pain and hurt to other people. And when you understand that, you can decide for yourself that it ends with me, because I do not want to continue giving hurt and pain to others. When you understand that everyone who has caused me pain was in pain themselves, and then if I am not careful, I'm going to begin to give pain to every other person I come across. When you get that, you can begin to now make the decision that this ends with me, and then seek help, and then say, okay, Lord, help me. Now, for someone who has been hurt and then they are coming in with anger, because that's the reason I went into that. Anyone who you see doing that is someone who's been in pain, and because they've been in pain, that's all that they have to give. So for someone like that, acknowledge first, I am hurting. Acknowledge, I am angry, and this is why I'm hurting, this is why I'm angry. I was raped, I was bullied, I was lied against, I was made to feel that I did not matter, I was beaten up, I was whatever it is that was done to you. Acknowledge that it was done. And then acknowledge that the person who did it to you was in a place of pain themselves, and that's all that they had to give. And then ask for God to heal your heart. Because the thing is that, until, like I said, the ultimate cause of rejection is sin. And the only person that can cure the pain of rejection is God Himself. He can bring healing to your heart. Until you begin to get healing for your heart, for the pain that you've experienced, you will only have pain to give. So, using myself as an example, what all that did to me was that it made me a very cynical person, it made me a very sarcastic person, it made me a very I used to be mean. My words were such that if somebody once told me, bros, you yab in parables. Because if I yab you, it will take you like 5 seconds to understand what I said. And that was the point of the yab. The point of the yab was to prove to you that you were too stupid to even understand me. My yab was to show you my superiority intellectually. So I'll yab you like, okay, what does that mean? By the time you get it, everyone is laughing at you at two levels. Laughing at the yab itself, and then laughing at the fact that you're too even stupid to understand. And that was how mean I was. I yabbed somebody, and for 2 weeks she was crying. Because we had to work together. So she would see me every day and burst into tears. She would remember what I said. And for the life of me, I couldn't even remember what I said. And every day I would be like, Tolu, I'm sorry. Tolu, the jaw, I'm sorry. What did I say? I'm sorry. And I kept on begging her for 2 weeks before she said, I forgive you. And she stopped crying. Because now that's who I was. And I now got to realize that, yes, because I had gotten pain a lot in my life. That's all I had to give. And I was couching it with cynicism. I was couching it with I have a very that I'm very cynical, I'm very sarcastic, but that was just a couch to cover the fact that I was hurting myself, and because I was hurting, the whole world had to share in my pain. But when I came to acknowledge that, first, I am hurting, and this is what caused it. Second, I forgive the people who have caused me pain, whether my parents, my siblings, friends, whatever. I forgive them and I let them go. And then number three, God, heal my heart. This pain that is there, take it away. Heal my heart, because the Bible says from the abundance of the heart that the mouth speaks. For every word that you speak that causes hurt to others, it wells from a heart that is already in pain, that has bitterness inside of it. The Bible calls it the root of bitterness. So it is the root of bitterness that gives birth to the fruit of hurtful words that you say, actions, hurtful actions that people do and everything. And ask God to begin to heal your heart. And it's a process. It's not a one-off. It doesn't just happen. It's a process. And then eventually your heart begins to heal. And I saw myself transform from someone who used to be so mean that people used to avoid me to someone that people wanted to be around. I moved from someone that whenever I yab, people begin to cry and hurt, to now I'm yabbing people and they are laughing. And there was a time I even got angry and I was raking out. You shouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, and the person I'm raking at is laughing and telling me you don't even know how to rake. And then they're like, and I'm like, seeing me like you, like people like you. And I'm wondering, I should be raking at this girl, but it's not
Well, you're
happening
not
again.
raking where. That's what we are just trying to explain to you.
And then now that's what happened to me. Once upon a time, you would have been in tears.
Crying, yes. Yes, it's been a journey for you. So the last one before you go, I know you said the story of when you were much younger. I don't know if you could please say a story of a bit relatable to like where you were a bit older, and because I want us to be able to relate with it, and then I also want you to just tell us step by step how you came out from the rejection, and if for any reason did you come in contact with the person that rejected you again, and how did it play out? How did you just laugh over it? Did you just, I would like to know like a more relatable story.
Okay. Now rejection plays out in lots of different ways. For some people, it's like I said in the beginning, rejection is just the absence of that unconditional love and acceptance and all of that that now begins to lead to a damage in your soul. So different actions that people take play out to eventually lead to rejection. So I told the story of when I was much younger and how that scenario with my folks did that for me, created pain. For some people, it's betrayal. For some people, it's rape, physical abuse, emotional abuse. It's a lot of things. So I'll tell one particular story. Now this happened a few years ago, and it happened in church. I'm a church boy
We are
now.
church people, who verse.
So this happened in church. So it happened in the choir. Now at this time, I was no longer functioning in the choir as much as I used to, because I had started to pastor,
Ministry.
and my responsibilities were such that I could not give a lot of attention to the music anymore, as I wanted to. But from time to time, I would show up during choir rehearsals and just help out whoever was there, give suggestions and all of that. So on this particular day, rehearsals were going on and stuff was happening in the rehearsals. So I said to the guy that was leading, I made a suggestion to him. That guy, see, I think if we did this, it would help do this, it will help this, it will help this, it would help this. Now, there was someone else who was around in that rehearsal. For the life of me, I have no idea what his beef with me was. For the life of me, I don't understand till tomorrow the problem he had with me. I don't get it, because he was very, very popular, as in he's a very gifted singer. So he sings, everyone's attention is on him, and he holds a lot of clout and all of that. But and then here is me. I don't even sing with you guys anymore. I don't do all of that stuff. I just show up once in a while to be like, okay, you guys do it this way to be better. If you did it this way, because when it comes to music, yes, I like, even if I say so myself, I do have some level of experience that I've done a lot of stuff with music. So I came to suggest all of that. And then the guy leaves that place and enters into a place where there were senior pastors. And he reported me that I was trying to overshadow the music director, and I was pushing in and being disrespectful, being rude, and trying to take control. And then my ogas called me and then they're blasting me. I'm like, from where to where? How? And it was not just like it was a one-off. And I got to realize that conversations had been going on. So a number of people who were disgruntled and upset with me for whatever reason had all been gisting. And as they were gisting, whatever it is that I had done just kept on being magnified and magnified and magnified until eventually now got to the senior pastors, and then they were calling me and they were blasting me. I was like, sorry, is it me you're talking about or is it somebody else? I think it must have me confused with someone else.
That they said I did.
I don't get it. But eventually it came out, and then one of my friends who was in that circle and heard all of those stuff, by the time I now got to find out, I confronted him. I said, guy, so he was now the guy was the music director that I was supposed to have overshadowed, that I was supposed to have. And he's my friend. I said, guy, how far? I heard all of this, but I was in that rehearsal and I spoke to you. I did not do anything outside me speaking with you. So how come I'm hearing all of this? And then the guy was like saying, right now, I'm so upset because I'm wondering where all of this came from. That he did not say this to the senior pastors, because this never happened. But that he remembers that there was a conversation that happened between him and he called a number of other people. And he said that his regret was that when that was going on, he did not stop them to tell them, stop this nonsense. That's not what happened. That he just brushed us like, what are you talking about? I beg, when that one happened? And he didn't actually speak that was his regret. But the funny thing that did was that from that moment till now, we've not been as close as we used to be.
You and the person that
me and the person that was my friend, that was because I felt betrayed. I felt betrayed, and I felt like, okay, in that kind of scenario, if you couldn't speak for me, and then these guys were speaking against me, and they couldn't speak for me, it hurt. Now, so the way to deal with stuff like that is to confront it. I confronted it. I confronted him. And by the time I confronted him, I now realized the person that was cooking up the stories. But I confronted my friend, and then we made good. But the truth is, it just was not till now. It's just not what it used to be. And then I confronted that guy that was cooking up the stories. The guy, how far? And he was denying. No, me? When did I mind it? But because I have known him for a long time, and he's someone who does that a lot.
Okay.
I know that definitely he was the one that did it and everything. But what it did for me was that the damage that it did was now that it affected my relationship with this person whom I have been friends with for over 20 years. And we're just not as tight as we used to be. We're practically like brothers, but it affected that. I'm hoping that one day we can have that conversation again, and then I'll address it and be like, man, bros, this thing really got to me.
Okay. So in this particular one that you just said now, I did not hear when you said you went back and you went to go and talk to God. So see, sometimes you don't have to talk to God. Go and confront that person.
No, you have to come. No, the talking to God part is.
You did not say you went to talk to God in this situation.
I'm not done. You cut in as usual. Cynthia, calm down.
Sorry. So you talk.
So I comforted the guy, yes. But where talking to God comes in is, Lord, take the pain and the hurt away. That's what God will do.
That's the only thing God will do.
That's the only thing God will do.
So it's in your place to go and confront.
It's your place to confront the person.
Okay.
Where it is now not some, like we said when we were talking about the last time I came, we were talking about speaking with authority. Where it is not now someone that you can confront. That's when you now say, okay, God, I can't talk to this person about this. So take the pain away, but help me maintain my reverence and respect for this person, because I cannot confront them. But in ideal situation, confront the person. But then even after confronting the person, it might not be totally cathartic. You might not get all the healing and all the
it just gives you clarity.
Yeah, it gives you clarity. Sometimes you still need to go back to God to say, okay, God, I'm still hurting because I didn't expect this from this person. So Lord, heal my heart. Just take this pain away.
Wow. Okay, again, I know it's sad and you want to listen to more of Mr. Okay, but we have to go. So yes, we're going to be ending this episode here. I hope
I
you.
don't think we've done this episode justice. I
No,
hope
we
we can
haven't.
talk about this again some other time.
Okay, sir. Which means that I should come back to your DM so that you will come back and talk about this.
Let's have a conversation about how much is entering my account. Then we can talk about.
So that means we will not exactly be talking about this episode again. We will shift it and discuss other important episodes. But seriously, thank you so much, sir, for giving us another time being
was
here
an
with
honor.
us. For everyone who's rejected, I hope this who has been rejected, I hope this makes a bit of sense to you. I hope you can relate. I hope you can confront the person, and even when you can't confront the person that rejected you, like my case, I can't confront the person. I mean, how do I want to go and tell? Let me not mention the person's name. That monologue, she should watch it again. What if the monologue is not good? That's how not guys. So I can, some people you can't actually confront
So
because
what if you sent the monologue to some other TV station?
yeah, that's what I no, I wasn't. That was before I had my last baby. So immediately I took in for my last child. I left the industry alone for the industry to leave me alone because they almost took my life. So yes, thank you so much again, sir. It's been a beautiful 30 something minutes with you, and I hope that we can come back to this topic. Since no, leave the money part, but I hope that we can come back to this topic and do justice to
Definitely,
it.
I hope so too.
Thank you so much, sir. From all of us in the studio, this is where we say a very big goodbye to you all. See you on the next episode, and the next episode with Mr. Okay. And yes, bye.